Okay, hello everyone. It is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. So this is the third video I'm recording today. And, Lord, I don't need to pray again, do I? So I've already prayed, so I don't need to pray again. Is what God's telling me, what I believe He's telling me. So He was telling me He wants me to share another story of sorts, testimony of sorts. But He wants me to do this as an admonishment. And the title He wants me to put, and it took me a while to figure out the exact word He wanted. He's so specific. Praise God. He is in the details. He said to title the admonishment, Recognize God's Fortuity. Fortuity. And of course, Tigress is begging me for food after I just hit record. Can you wait, please? You can wait. Thank you. Okay. My kitty cat. Anyway. Admonishment. Recognize God's fortuity. So He wants me to share a specific example, a specific story that happened last year in 2023. So, in 2023, at the time, I was, well, it doesn't really matter all the details, but I was living at a hotel, okay? And I had been there a decent amount of time that the staff was familiar with me. And they knew that, when I could, I would use my points. So I had been living predominantly homeless for over 3 years. And so I have my kitty cat with me. And so I have an account with Choice Privileges, Choice Hotels. And so I rack up points. And when I get enough reward points, I can use my points to book a room. So anyway, I went to the front desk. At that point in time, money was very tight. It really wasn't coming in. I had people doing witchcraft against me and trying to get me, to the point that I was living. People were was it that summer? It was that summer. It was the summer of 2023. I actually had a warlock email me and say something like, "You're going to be really homeless soon. You're going to be living in your car soon," or something like that. People were doing witchcraft against my finances. And so I was going to the front desk every day, every other day, every few days. It was pretty bad. Or it was getting to that point here and there. I forget that whole summer. But anyway, so I went to the front desk. And long story short, the front desk, God used the front desk to coordinate basically a divine appointment for me to meet with this woman. So the front desk girl said to me, "There is another guest staying here right now, and she's not sure how to use her points. Would you mind if I tried to connect you with her so that you can show her how to go on the website and select to book her reservation with her points?" And I was like, okay, sure, So within probably 24 hours, I was coming or going from the parking lot to my car in the corridor, and there's a lady, and I had seen her a few times, I think. She had a little dog, and I think the staff member saw me in the hallway and said, "Hey, can you just hold on? I'm going to connect you with that lady that I told you about." And I'm like, okay. So I stood there waiting, and this lady comes over with her little dog. And anyway, so we connect. And we ended up going back to her hotel room, and she had her laptop. And so I showed her, or I forget if I showed her or if I just told her, well, once you're logged in, there's, a certain drop-down menu at a certain place on the screen. You just go to the drop-down menu, and there's a radio button that you can select to use your points, and then it'll show you the hotels in the area that you can book with your points, and it'll tell you whether or not you have enough points, and blah, 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 right? And we began talking about animals and pets and, you know, what to feed them and everything. And so I was kind of just giving her some like health tips regarding animals and just in general, like, you know, what to stay away from. I shared with her the type of food that I feed my cat and whatever. And it was just, you know, a nice little exchange of like just two people, you know, conversing, and I was sharing the information of, you know, what God had shown me to feed my cat years ago and whatever, right? And so I go back to my room, and she seemed like she wanted to keep talking. She seemed very lonely. She seemed like she wanted to talk. And she, I think, had explained to me that she had just recently gone through a divorce, or she was going through a divorce, and she just bought a new house, and the house isn't even like fully finished yet. They're still like putting in the bathroom sinks and things like that. Okay. And so in the meantime, she was just staying at this hotel waiting for her house to be finished being built. So I go back to my room, my hotel room, and God spoke to me. Like this notion popped in my head of like, she seems really lonely. She's going through a divorce. I've been through a divorce. I know, you know, I have some concept, I have some experience of what that is like, and it's a time of need. It's a time where you feel very alone and rejected and whatever, and you know, it's a time where support is really needed and all that. I don't know what my cat's doing right now. Anyway, and you know, if it's a brand new house, odds are, and it's a house, odds are there's probably more than one bedroom. And so this notion popped in my head of like, well, maybe this could be a housing opportunity. Maybe we could help each other. You know, I could pay her rent and I could minister to her if that's God's will, you know, and she would have someone to talk to. She wouldn't be so alone and lonely, you know. And so I went back to her room and I knocked on her door. Well, I mean, I prayed about it first. Prayed about it, and I believe God said, yes, this is me speaking to you. This is what I want you to do. So I go to her room door and I knock on her door and I said, hey, you know, I have an idea, and I prayed about it, and I would like to propose this idea to you. And so she let me back in her room and we talked, and I said, you know, I'm in full-time ministry. I don't have traditional pay stubs to prove my income, but I said, you know, God provides for me. He always has. You know, it would just be nice to actually get into some housing, you know, and I said, you know, I'll pray, like, if you're open to this, if you're open, and she said, oh, I'm Christian too, blah, 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 right? And here's the thing, you know, people claim to be Christian, they claim it, but they're not living it, you know? So I said, well, you know, if you're open to, you know, maybe considering this, praying about this, you know, and hold on. So she had told me that, yes, she had, I think, two open, like, besides her master bedroom, there was two other rooms in the house and another, like, full bathroom. So I could have had what I needed. Basically, what I need is a room to be my bedroom, a room for my, like, preps, my storage type stuff. And yeah, I'd like to have my own bathroom, ideally, you know, and so it was perfect. And so I said, okay, well, if you want to maybe consider this and pray about it, I'll do the same. And, you know, I'll ask God, you know, what he has to say about all this. You know, I'll press in further and, you know, and so I said, you know, I'm in room, you know, such and such. You know, when you have prayed about it, if you've made a decision, you know, can you just let me know? Oh, yeah. And, or no, I think what I did, I forget. I think I called her room. I think that's what I did. I called her room. And we talked on the phone. from like one hotel room to another. And she went into this whole thing about how she's Christian and she has people in her family that are Christian, that are ministers, and that there's a local church that just burnt down. And like, so like we had like a full-blown conversation. And that's right, Lord, something came up. There was something, she brought up something, and I don't remember what it was. She brought up some topic. Yes, Tigress, I know you want food. You can wait. Lord, is that relevant? You want me to... Okay, it's not relevant. But so we had a full-blown conversation, and I just, told her that, yeah, I live for God. My life revolves around God. I'm in full-time ministry, So I said, I'll continue to pray about this. You pray about it, and, just let me know. So... like a day or two went by. I forget how much time went by, but I was in continuous prayer about it with God, and I waited until he told me, okay, you haven't heard from her, go try to, find her, or whatever. So I called her room, no answer. Okay, maybe she's out, whatever. And then some more time went by, and I think I ended up bumping into her in the corridor. And I said, hey, I've been praying about what we talked about. And I said, and I had told her, that I'm pretty sure I told her that I would have to get some stuff out of storage. And so God had told me to offer her $800 a month for both bedrooms and the other bathroom. And you can say what you want, but that's what I believe God told me. And I said, I believe God is telling me to make you an offer of $800 a month for both of the bedrooms and the bathroom. But, if that's something that needs to be discussed further, I can pray about it more. I'm open to whatever works for you, and I could just tell by her facial expression, her demeanor, she wanted nothing to do with me. She was avoiding me. And she blew me off, and I forget, Lord, did she tell me no, or did she just blow me off? Did she tell me no? I think she blew me off. I think she was like, oh yeah, I'll have to get back to you, whatever. Never heard from her again. And I just knew, like, I've known for a long time now, like, when things shift in the spirit and, like, a door closes, like, I just sense it, I just know it, and I knew, okay, she's not moving forward here, and God wanted me to just use this as an example, and again, he says to put this forth as an admonishment, and the title is, Recognize God's Fortuity. Recognize God's Fortuity. So, I recognized that it was a divine appointment. She did not. Now, I don't know what happened exactly on her end, of course. I don't know if she went back to whatever minister is supposedly in her family, and, that person told her, don't do it because I'm just some strange girl living in a hotel. People judge by outward appearance, and obviously the minister in her family was more of that brick and mortar, indoctrinated, jump through all man's hoops, bow to the beast system kind of mentality, So if something like that happened, I wouldn't have been surprised. But, like, she did like a 180. She went from being like full-blown smile, enthusiastic in the conversation, and then just did a 180 and totally... Now, there are spirits that cause that to happen. I'm going to be teaching on all the different types of spirits. And I didn't have my full deliverance back then. And so it could have been my spirits. It could have been her spirits. It could have been someone telling her something. You never know what happens in these situations when people don't come into alignment with God's will. But, did she pray about it? I don't know. That's between her and God. But she had even told me, and it was obvious that she was lonely, she had no one to talk to, and that's why she was hanging out quite a bit in the hallway, in the parking lot, at the front desk, because she was looking for people to just talk to. She was that lonely, okay? When you go through a divorce, it can really, really put you in quite a lonely mental state. And God brought us together. Like, I've been moving around the country all these years, and that's never happened where the front desk said, oh, let me get you in touch with this other guest. This was a divine appointment. God orchestrated for her and I to come together so that she would have someone to keep her company, someone to minister to her, and for me to have housing, and for her, it would also be a financial benefit. She just bought this house. It's a brand new house, and she could have income. She could have a good chunk of money coming in every month, because it seemed like she wasn't working. I don't recall getting into that topic with her as to, what she was doing, but it was clear to me she was not working. So I don't know what her deal was financially, but she could have had a chunk of money coming in, and had company and had someone to minister to her, which maybe she wasn't looking for, and I would not have been pushy about it. I would have done whatever at God's leading, but still, it would have been a symbiotic, mutually beneficial relationship. And that's what the Lord means by fortuity. Recognize God's fortuity. A lot of people have not been recognizing God's fortuity in the sorrows. So I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but again, in the sorrows, God has been trying to bring people together for basic needs, okay? She would have been fulfilling a body level need for me of just shelter, housing, a place to live, some stability. For her, it would have been a soul level need of, okay, she needs fellowship. She needs people, she needs someone just to talk to, God has been trying to bring people together for various reasons. Basic needs like that, marriage, ministry, safe havens / discipleship centers / deliverance centers, armor bearers, okay, just all these different types of relationships that God has been trying. He's been trying to bring together. And people have just not been coming into alignment with God's will. And they're missing out on His blessings, His fortuity. They are missing out on His will and therefore His blessings, His provision, His protection. And because of this, a lot of people, again, they've lost their salvation because they know better, and God knows they know better. A lot of people have forfeited their place in the two witnesses. People have forfeited just the blessings that God had for them. A spouse, an armor bearer, a friend, housing, their deliverance, whatever it may have been. And again, God usually, is trying to accomplish more than one purpose, usually, okay? He's very efficient, again. So God just wanted me to share this little story of frustration in my journey, where to me it was clear as day that this was a total God thing. This was a divine appointment. This was God orchestrated. This was God ordained. I was supposed to move in there. We were supposed to help each other for however long, even if it was only a few months or whatever. But, God is trying to arrange things to change the trajectory of one's life or both people's lives in a better way. She would have enabled me to have some stability, get my stuff out of storage, save some money, whatever God wanted me to accomplish. But for her, she would have had some incoming money. She would have had some fellowship, maybe a new friend. Maybe she would have even ended up being my armor bearer. I could have facilitated her deliverance as God was training and equipping me, and then And God knows what else from there. You know, through our relationship, we could have met other people and made other connections and whatever. You never know how one thing is going to lead to another in God's will once you're in alignment with his will. And so you're forfeiting like that entire trajectory of God's will, God's blessing, God's provision, God's protection. Okay? If you don't just recognize what God is doing in the moment. So you need to be paying attention, watching, and asking him what his will is. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't listen to fear. Don't judge by outward appearance. Ask God what his will is. Lord, is there anything else you want me to say? That's it. All right. I bless you all in the name of Yeshua, the Christ of Nazareth.